You're back with The Nation. The St James Theatre was once the pride of Auckland's entertainment industry. Built in 1928, it hosted ballets, opera and music royalty like the Beatles and Sir Howard Morrison. It even hosted real royalty with 4 visits from Her Majesty the Queen. But despite being under the highest protection offered by New Zealand law, the building has declined and has been closed since 2007. Well, how did that happen? Narelle Sisted reports on the loopholes in our heritage law.
Locked away behind this underwhelming facade is a national treasure. A treasure Bob Kerridge knows well. The site of the St James Theatre, locked up and slowly running down, is one he can't stand.
This is absolutely staggeringly depressing. I am so sad about it. This theatre should never, ever have got into this situation. And I'm afraid we're looking at something that might be lost through sheer decay. And to think that might happen really does sadden me.
Mr Kerridge has reason to feel this way. His father, Sir Robert Kerridge, once owned the largest chain of theatres in Australasia. Among his many assets, the St James.
I think I share the passion, probably a bit more than others because of my personal involvement.
In 2007, the St James was closed after smoke damage from a nearby fire. When it became obvious the building was being left to mothball, Mr Kerridge decided to do something about it. He started a group called the St James Saviours. Its members are a prestigious bunch, chosen for their areas of influence as much as their passion for the St James.
They all have their different talents. Some are artistic, some are legal, some are, it's a whole variety of people. But we have one common goal. That theatre is going to come alive again. We're going to save it.
That the building got to a point where it needed rescuing angers fellow saviour, Doug Harley. Chief projectionist and St James employee for 25 years, he says the St James was deteriorating long before the fire.
I went back there some years ago. A lady journalist got hold of me to do a journalistic item about it. So she said, we'll meet at the back of St James. You could get in those days. I hadn't been back there for years. The projection room, where all those 25 years I worked up there, is now empty, just an empty shell. The equipment is all gone except the 2 fellow spots up there. It's all empty, and it brings back so many memories of those long, long hours working up there, and so tired and worn out, but that's show business. It was very sad to see it as it was, and I don't know, it's too many ghosts.
A civilization gone with the wind.
Both the Historic Places Trust and the Auckland City Council placed it in their top categories more than 20 years ago. But even with the highest protection New Zealand law offers, it's ended up like this.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an exclusive review of the latest world happenings, gathered from the 4 corners of the globe and brought by direct airmail to the St James Theatre, Auckland.
With the advent of small suburban cinemas, the St James lost much of its audience. It was taken over in the 1970s, ending up in the hands of property developer Paul Dool in 2001. Mr Dool declined to appear on camera, but says he bought the theatre as part of a larger site. He says he's been approached by the council several times about buying the St James. But so far, nothing has been agreed. Paul Dool planned to build a 36-storey apartment complex around the St James. It took 6 years, but eventually he had his resource consent approved. The slow property markets put building on hold, but Mr Dool says he has no intention of reopening the theatre. At around $60 million, it's simply too expensive to restore. And that's the problem for those who want to save the St James. Legally, he doesn't have to. Jeremy Sarmond is a member of the Historic Places Trust and a well-known Auckland heritage architect. He says heritage buildings aren't fully protected under either the Historic Places Act or district plans.
Yes, you can designate, you can register, you can schedule, but you can't compel the action to take place. So You can control the way in which people do things, but you cannot make people do the restoration that might be necessary.
Who is ultimately responsible for maintaining heritage buildings?
It's the owner. The buildings are property, and owners of property necessarily maintain them as assets.
But Chris Gudgeon, National President of the Property Council, says picking up the tab for one of the approximately 50 Category A heritage buildings in Auckland's CBD is different.
I would say it's simply not realistic that they will, if they can't generate a commercial return that satisfies their shareholders. The people who are investing money with them need a return, as with any business venture.
Why buy heritage buildings if you're not willing to pay the costs, though?
Well, I think many developers have been happy to be involved in the restoration costs, as long as those costs are reasonable.
Reasonable is something they're often not. The restoration of the Civic building cost $42 million, the Central Post Office $30 million, and the current art gallery upgrades are a staggering $113 million. Do we have a case where the council can go out, pronounce these buildings as historic buildings, and then let them decay because the property owners are saying that they aren't responsible? The council doesn't feel that it has the funds to address it.
Oh, we do. Oh, yes. That's really how it works at the moment.
Prohibitive price tags may be one reason heritage buildings are allowed to decay, but Mr. Sarmond points out there are other reasons as well.
We're talking about property, and property is about monetary value, and that leads very quickly to politics.
The kind of politics that mean this building, formerly owned by Auckland City Mayor John Banks, is having $2.5 million spent on moving it 40 metres up the road from Victoria Park Tunnel, then returning it once the tunnel is finished. Meanwhile, just across the road, a Category B building, the Logan Campbell Free Kindergarten, has been allowed to decay so badly it's now too dangerous to enter. How does the City Council choose which buildings to restore? Auckland City Mayor John Banks is a true politician when faced with the question.
Very, very difficult. Therein lies the challenge. It's council's job to protect and preserve the architectural heritage and historic significance of these places.
A job he says needs doing, even if funds are tight.
There's not a lot of money for anything coming out of a global recession when people are strapped for cash. It's about ordering priorities, so we can't do everything.
And these priorities are ever increasing. In the 1980s, about 40 buildings were scheduled by the Auckland City Council. That number is now at 267. With restrictions on what owners can do and price tags on what they should do, it's no wonder Mr. Gudgeon says the future of heritage buildings really depends on luck.
You need a bit of developer creativeness to find a current use. So that's where I think this marriage between city and private interests is what ultimately gets you there on a restoration project.
In the case of the St James, what gets it there may be a bid for the National Convention Centre. Greg Innes runs the council's events organisation, The Edge. It's bidding for a chance to build New Zealand's largest convention centre. Included in The Edge's bid, plans to restore the St James.
We would essentially bring the theatre back to a fully restored state with around about 1,300 seats, very similar in size to the St James in Wellington, similar size stage. We would restore the historic facade.
But with several other bidders in the race, there's no assurance it'll win. While the council has come to the rescue of buildings like the Civic, Town Hall and the Art Gallery, there's no guarantee the soon-to-be-elected Super City Council will do the same for the St James. Whatever happens, Bob Kerridge and the St James Saviours will be ready. They plan to see the building restored and are already deciding how to go about it.
There are obviously people that we're going to go to, like the government, we're going to say, come on, this is a jewel, let's help to save it. We've got Auckland City itself. We have some other ideas in mind. And of course, I think if we go to the public, they will be very generous, because I think most people would like to see this theatre back to life again.
While the St James might get that chance, many other heritage buildings may not. The question is whether bad luck is really an excuse for jeopardising the future of our past.
Morel Sisted there.